Welcome back, everybody. And we're here with another episode of Body, Mind, Spirit. Today, I have with us Katrina Foe. Thank you so much, Katrina, for being here with us.
Yeah, my pleasure, Betsy.
So it's interesting. We're going to talk about a topic that a lot of people don't like talking about, the big C, and we're talking cancer. So, what made you get involved in helping people with cancer?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's not something everyone wants to talk about and you want to avoid it, right? Well, to me, it was always something that I had no interest in until I got cancer. And the whole journey that I went on to get rid of it 100% naturally just brought all these questions to my mind and just took this understanding of the body and just flipped it over on its head. And I just really wanted to dig in and understand better. So that's what got me started. And through the process, it was really more about, completely selfishly, I just wanted to know for myself to make sure I knew what I needed to be doing. And then as I was going through my training, it was just so fabulous to help other people. And this neat work needed to be out there. And I became very, very passionate about it to where that's more important to me now sometimes than my own health. It's the getting the word out there that there are other alternatives.
And it's actually interesting when you connect the dots, you have a lot of health and wellness kind of training. You got you own a Pilates studio, you have this aspect, you have a book coming out. Do you find that all of this stuff is connecting to help people?
Absolutely. Yeah. The more I learn about the body, the more I learn that I don't know everything and it's all interconnected. And, I think when we learn about the body, you've got this system and that system, and we make it all super segregated, but they all are so interconnected. And you have to look at the whole picture, whether it's musculoskeletal or if it's the endocrine system, they interact. And when you're not looking at the whole thing, you're missing pieces. And that's a really crucial thing.
And that brings up you said that you healed your cancer naturally. And now there may be some people out there that are like, what? How is that possible? So, yeah, what did you learn along the way?
Yeah. So I learned that standard of care is not the only option. And the way that standard of care looks at things is they're trying to attack the tumor. And what I want to look at as a practitioner and when I was going through my journey is why is it there? Because I know that our body's immune system was created to address cancer and keep things in check. And so when cancer is allowed to proliferate and actually become a tumor and get out of control, there's reasons why. And we have identified 10 areas that are known. This is in the research, in the literature, and different people have different ones. So it's never one thing. It's usually 4 or 6 different things. And identifying those areas will then help you not only, get the cancer into remission, but then give you the, finger on the pulse of how to watch it and monitor it and keep it in remission ongoing. So you have to live with that fear of it's going to come back. What is going to do it? I don't know, because I didn't know how it got there in the first place. And that fear is what I want people to have freedom from.
It's interesting because people always ask me all the time, especially with women's health, oh, hormones cause cancer, or they're this thing causes cancer. Or I just had a friend who was male text me the other day who's been working out in the gym and he's been, I guess, taking a lot of protein supplements. And he's like, hey, I just read that creatine causes cancer. And I'm like, all right, first of all, we have cancer cells all the time in our body. And like you said, the immune system for the majority of the time takes care of it. So it's not that, it's hard to say something causes cancer. We don't know. These cells kind of happen. And unfortunately, every once in a while, sometimes if our immune system doesn't take care of it, these cells start taking over. So it's more important to really, be healthy and support the immune system. And then if, God forbid, you do get that diagnosis, kind of work with your system. So what kind of things have you found to be important to support with the body to help with cancer?
Okay, we're going to get into weird territory here, Betsy. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so first off, besides the testing, because for example, I thought I was doing great with vitamin D. I had been taking cod liver oil for years. it did nothing for me. I have it turns out, some genetic issues absorbing vitamin D. I had to find the right form that worked for me. So never assume that because you take a supplement that you get it into you. But probably one of the biggest things is to detox. And so the easy thing, so to speak, is to make sure that you're out of the way of all the chemicals. This is not the fun thing for most people. Moldy houses, that was my trigger point. I had no idea about mold. I didn't realize how just insidious it is. The cosmetics that we use, all the stuff is not fun to talk about. But my favorite way of detoxing, this is the cheap and easy, and it has the big weird factor, is the coffee enemas. So the coffee enemas are amazing to help stimulate the bile production, which are like mops to get the toxins out of the body. It encourages the liver to produce more glutathione, which is like the mama antioxidant, which I'm sure you know. And they're easy. The best part of them, though, I love, is I tend to run in that kind of like a little anxious, kind of sympathetic, go, 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 which most cancer people tend to run that way. And doing the coffee rectally actually stimulates your parasympathetic system. So for me, for me, when I do a coffee enema, it's like a Zen moment. I'm like, I'll tell my kids, like, okay, mama's like stressed out. I need to go do an enema. It's like my, go to your room time. And I feel so much better. So aside from detox, there's really great benefits.
All right. So now I got to ask you about this because I've heard of them, but all right. I don't even know where to start with this. So you take enema and you put it in your rectum. I mean, you take the coffee and put it in your rectum. I'm assuming it's not hot coffee. I'm assuming it's
no. You want to test it on your wrist like a baby bottle to make sure it's just right. Not too cold, not too hot. Either way will not be good.
Okay. And then how long is it held in the rectum for?
Yeah, you want to get it all up in there, and ideally 15, 20 minutes. Even if you keep it for like 2 or 3 minutes, you're still getting a benefit. I have clients a lot of times that are a little disappointed they didn't keep it longer, and every day is a little different. If you are a little constipated, I recommend doing like a water flush out first, and then you'll have an easier time holding it. But yeah, it's amazing.
And I'm also surprised because normally we think of coffee as a stimulant. So,
right.
I'm surprised that when you put it in a different way, that it would actually cause like a relaxation type of reaction.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the caffeine is going to stimulate that sympathetic when you do it orally. Nobody's paying for research for this, unfortunately, but the idea is that when you go rectally, it's stimulating that vagus nerve, which is the mechanism. But because we think about it up in the face and then it gets down in the digestive system, but it does go all the way down into the colon and everything and innervate there. So, yeah.
And how often does somebody do something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It depends on what's going on. So like when I was actively cancering, I did multiple in a day, and I did that probably for about a year. Now that was a little extreme. I was, just really working hard because I didn't want to die. Let's just be honest. But now I'll do one, maybe once or twice a week. I just kind of keep things moving, just because I know genetically I'm not great at detoxifying. And so it depends on if I have clients that have active mold stuff, I'll encourage them to do one a day kind of thing. So it's a spectrum depending on where you're at health-wise.
And can you get the same if you're taking it orally, or is it?
It's not going to get the same benefit at all. So orally, the coffee, a lot of times I'm not a big fan because it stimulates the adrenals and the sympathetic, like you were talking about before. And most clients, if they've got health issues, that's not what they need. It can help the gallbladder. So sometimes, but usually the rectally is very well tolerated. Once in a while, if people are having a hard time and they're like jittery from coffee, that's a sign their phase 1 detox systems aren't working very well. And so we work on that and then water down the coffee rectally, but it still works.
Oh my God, this is fascinating. I can't wait to hear more about it when we come back from the commercial break.
80% of women will develop a pelvic health condition at some point in their lives. There is relief. There is hope. The Pelvic Floor Store, your resource for personal health.
And we're back with Katrina Foe. So, Katrina, you also have a book that just came out. What is the title of your book?
I do. It's called Nutritional Pilates, relieve joint pain, optimize your weight, and prevent chronic disease to find your optimal health.
I love that. And what do you talk about? If you can kind of give us a sneak peek about some of the things that are in the book.
Yeah. So I'm trying to tie together my two different worlds, looking at different aspects of health. So the muscle balancing aspect of Pilates to try to work on balancing the muscles so that there's no joint pain. And then the diet and nutrition aspects to get those the body balanced out. So specifically a low insulin diet. And then we talk about a lot of different functional lab testing and different things like coffee enemas that can really help improve people's health. So there's a lot of things you can do at home in there. And it's designed to give people a framework of what they can do to take control of their own health.
And I mean, I always talk when we talk about diets. I talk a lot about inflammatory foods and non-inflammatory foods. You go into that at all in your book?
A little bit. Unfortunately, there's it's only one book. They can be like chapters and on that. The whole book's on that. The biggest thing is like the rancid fats and stuff. And we definitely touch on that, as well as the blood sugar dysregulation. And that's a huge component of the book in terms of I get so frustrated as a practitioner, and my own journey was the same thing, that like I had no idea I had blood sugar dysregulation because I felt great. So when you have insulin resistance, you don't feel bad. And that's the message I want to get out. Like, but yet you are setting yourself up for all these chronic diseases, joint pain, and the inflammation cycle, all of that. That's really, people want to lose weight. They've got to get the inflammation down.
And I've been reading that more and more, especially with the insulin, that, things that we're eating are throwing our insulin off. And then that's keeping us from losing weight, and things that like I didn't even think about with like diet sodas, because a lot of people go, oh, well, diet sodas don't have any calories in it. But apparently that sweet taste will trigger the body to think that there's like sugar coming into the system. And now you get your insulin is going off. And I can understand when it comes to weight, but where would this be the insulin connect when it comes to chronic disease?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And this is particularly important to me right now. I obviously have a cancer journey. My dad has dementia and is not doing well. And actually, as I wrote the book, I was visiting him. So it was particularly, but dementia is known as type 3 diabetes. Cancer is a metabolic disease. Heart disease is driven by blood sugar issues. And clearly diabetes itself is like, these are all the big chronic disease killers that people kind of ignore and don't think there's anything they can do about it. But there's very clear things that we can do that we know in the research and clinically are going to be driving those diseases, that people can do stuff. And it's better to do it decades earlier than to like in the moment. In the moment, it's kind of hard.
I know. I think how health has changed so much over the years. And like, you and I grew up in a time where I don't think people really were thinking as much about what they were eating. And then now, I think I'm hoping that the new generation that will be healthier, because we know so much more about things that we're putting on and in our body. But,
it's interesting you say that, because I grew up in a household and we were always thinking about what we ate, but it was all the wrong stuff. We were eating margarine, and like literally I remember having contests with my sister to see who could eat the least amount of fat in a day. And it's just horrifying now to think about how my body works and what I've learned about it. And I actually thrive on fat. And that was what I was avoiding. And that's what I was being told to avoid by the government. So it's kind of like, well, we were trying, but doing the wrong things.
Oh, yeah. What other things are important that you want people to know about that are in the book?
Yeah, I talk about the gut health and some different, do it yourself kind of ways to encourage your gut to have the good bacteria. I talk about mold, and this is something that's not talked about enough. And this was the tipping point for my cancer, the straw that broke the camel's back. And I was so frustrated. why did this happen to me? I was already starting to eat healthy and clean, and we had done a lot of work on ourselves that way. And yet I still got cancer. Well, 8 months before the cancer diagnosis, we moved into a new home, and it had black mold everywhere that we stupidly pulled out ourselves with no masks or anything. We didn't know what we didn't know. So, I mean, I'd like more people to know about that, that's like, oh, like take it seriously. And that's like the only health condition that is like explicitly mentioned in the Bible. There's like, do not do this. This is how you handle it. I mean, clearly it's an issue.
Yeah. You know, and how did you, I always want, because I always think about the black mold. How did you find out that you had it in your house?
Yeah, there was a leak in, we were doing some renovations in the bathroom, and we took out the bathtub, and my husband noticed there was a leak, and he started pulling things out, and it's all black, and he had to take it down to the studs, and it was really bad. So yeah.
So
The thing is, like, our houses nowadays, like, you've got the drywall, which is literally like the perfect food for the mold. And it's behind that where we can't see it, that we put the pipes. And if they have a leak within 48 hours, you can have mold, and you don't see any of it. So
that's scary. That's
not the best idea, but I am not a builder.
Yeah. So where can people find out more information about you?
Yeah, my website, nutritionalpilates.com. And if you go there right now, you can get register for a free copy of the book. So I will send you the actual book, not an ebook. And you can find out their information about our Pilates teacher training, about working with our practitioner group, our retreat, our cancer freedom retreat, all sorts of different things there. So it's nutritionalpilates.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I just want to remind everybody, go check out that website when you're there. Don't forget to check out the wytv7.org website. Look at the other great programming we have. And don't forget to hit the donate button, because every dollar that you donate helps not only with our community outreach and our scholarships, but also bringing great programs like this today. Also, just remember, any medical information that we talk about in these shows, check with your own doctor first or your health practitioner, make sure that it's right for you to do. And follow me on social media at Dr. Betsy Greenleaf or Dr. Betsy Greenleaf _ You can find me anywhere. And don't forget to come back for another week of Body, Mind, Spirit. Thank you, Katrina.
Thank you.